places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. Their tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow. No tomorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, I find it.
Phosgene is a colorless gas which became known after it was used as a chemical weapon during World War I. Phosgene was first introduced to World War I in 1915 by the French. Phosgene was very difficult to detect, making it a very effective chemical weapon. Although phosgene was sometimes used on its own, it was more often mixed with equal volumes of chlorine, which the chlorine was used to help spread out the denser phosgene over the battlefield. The Allies called this combination White Star after the marking painted on shells containing the mixture. In the first combined chlorine-phosgene attack by Germany against the British troops near Ypres, Belgium, on December 19, 1915, 88 tons of the gas was released from cylinders, causing 1,069 casualties and 69 deaths. The British gas helmet at the time was mediocre at protecting from the phosgene gas. This caused the British to change their design in 1916. Around 36,600 tons of phosgene were manufactured during the war, out of a total of 190,000 tons for all chemical weapons, making it second only to chlorine, which had 93,800 tons in the quantity manufactured. Altogether, Germany used 18,100 tons of phosgene, France used 15,700 tons of phosgene, the United Kingdom used 1,400 tons of phosgene, and the United States used 1,400 tons of phosgene. Although phosgene was never as notorious in public consensus as mustard gas, it killed far more people. About 85% of the 100,000 deaths caused by chemical weapons during World War I was attributed to phosgene gas. Although phosgene was known for being used in World War I, it could have been used in World War II. However, the only accounts of gases being used in World War II were by the Japanese, and it is unknown which exact gases were used at that time. Even though phosgene is so deadly, it still has common purposes in the United States today. It is used in some plastics and most notably as a pesticide. Industries in the United States alone use over 1 billion pounds of phosgene annually. Phosgene was synthesized by the British chemist John Davy in 1812 by exposing a mixture of carbon monoxide and chlorine to sunlight. He named it phosgene in reference to the use of light to promote the reaction, from Greek phos, light, and gene, born. Even though phosgene was known to be used during World War I, there is also evidence that it was used during the Cold War for the Vietnamese against the Cambodian resistance forces in Thailand in 1984. Phosgene has also been used in terrorism throughout the world. In July 1974, a group calling themselves the Aliens of America successfully firebombed the house of a judge, 2 police commissioners, and 1 commissioner's car, burned down 2 apartment buildings, and bombed the Pan Am terminal at Los Angeles International Airport, killing 3 people and injuring 8. The organization, which turned out to be a single resident alien, claimed to have developed and possessed a supply of sarin gas, as well as 4 unique nerve agents. Although no agents were found at the time he was arrested in August 1974, he had reportedly acquired all but 1 of the ingredients required to produce a nerve agent. A search of his apartment turned up a variety of materials, including precursors for phosgene and a drum containing 25 pounds of sodium cyanide. Now with all this talk about phosgene, how does it really work? When inhaled, phosgene reacts with the water in the lungs, creating hydrochloric acid and carbon monoxide. Since the upper respiratory tract is not very affected, the warning signs of phosgene are almost undetectable until it's too late. Symptoms do not normally appear for 2 to 24 hours after inhaling. The creation of hydrochloric acid in the lungs causes pulmonary edema and may cause bronchial pneumonia and lung abscesses. If enough is inhaled, the victim can die within 36 hours of ingestion. Phosgene gets its high toxicity from the action of the phosgene on the proteins in the pulmonary alveoli, site of gas exchange. Their damage disrupts the blood-air barrier, causing suffocation. Even though phosgene is hard to detect, it can be detected by its smell. Phosgene is known for smelling like hay. The odor detection threshold for phosgene is 0.4 parts per million, which is 4 times the threshold limit value, meaning that symptoms can still be held if you cannot smell it. Since phosgene is still used today, there is still a possibility of it leaking and causing problems. This was prevalent in the leak that happened in West Virginia in 2010. Upcoming is a short video clip which shows what happened that caused this leak to be so deadly and cause problems throughout the plant.
On the day prior to the fatal phosgene release, operators were experiencing flow problems with one of the hoses and began switching between cylinders to avoid disruption to the chemical process. In the course of switching cylinders, the valve was closed on a partially full cylinder. However, the hose was not purged, allowing pressure to build as the liquid phosgene inside warmed up. Sometime between 1:45 and 2 p.m. on January 23rd, a worker was inspecting one of the cylinders when the pressurized hose suddenly burst. He was sprayed across his chest and face with a lethal dose of phosgene. Another worker was exposed to the deadly gas, and a third was potentially exposed, but neither reported any symptoms. A total of 2 pounds of phosgene was released to the atmosphere. Small concentrations of the dangerous chemical were detected by monitors at the plant's fence line. The worker who had been sprayed with phosgene called for help and was transported to a local hospital. 4 hours later, the worker's condition began to deteriorate rapidly, and despite medical treatment, he died a day after the accident.
Remember, phosgene is used in much more than just World War I, so next time you see it used in the news, try to remember how it works and how it affects the body, and you can really impress your friends on your knowledge on World War I gases.